Alright guys, we're back for the conclusion here of this week's Pauper Ponderings with Witness Me, our kind of take on a red-black aggro sacrifice themed deck in, I guess, parallel to the Mad Max Fury Road movie that came out in 2015. As Witness Me is the, I guess, last ditch call it the War Boys, who are the minions of the bad guy in the movie that kind of make before they jump to their, I guess, suicidal deaths. We figured it out. Reddit user Rust Belt Wolf submitted this deck list to me. It looked really, really sweet, and I gotta say, after playing the deck, it is pretty sweet. There's a lot of really cool synergies with the Perilous Mir and the Mud Button Torch Runner and the Mer Servitor and the Mog War Marshal, being able to sacrifice them for value. It was a lot of fun. I think it's just a little underpowered, unfortunately. That's kind of the theme of what happened in our matches that we recorded. It was just kind of, we were really, really close. Remember in that red-black matchup, we got them to 1. Maybe we missed a point somewhere. I'm going to have to go back and watch. But, you know, getting somebody to 1 and them having, you know, the Faithless Lootings and the Thermal Alchemists to be able to kill us from 7 when they were on no cards and we were on no cards, I think really paints a picture of maybe the weakness of this strategy. There is a lot of sweet things going on, though. You know, Reckless Abandon, Collateral Damage. Altar's Reap was good when we drew it. I think this deck needs a 4th one of those. But without further ado, we can move right into the good, the bad, and the ugly of Witness Me here on Pauper Ponderings. So the good. The good, I would say, is Tendrils of Despair. I was a big fan of this card, and maybe this deck needs more of this card. I was very happy to draw. A lot of the times what happened was I didn't have enough sacrifice effects, so maybe that means cutting down on the Brimstone Volleys, maybe cutting on the Bump in the Nights or the Tyrant's Choices to be able to get maybe 1 or 2 more Tendrils of Despair, and maybe, you know, 1 more Altar's Reap, because I was very happy anytime I drew Altar's Reap, anytime I drew Tendrils of Despair, and anytime I drew these Collateral Damage or Reckless Abandon. Blighting was also pretty decent. We drew it in the red-black aggro matchup. It should be good there, especially on the play. We were unfortunately not able to come away with that game, but it was good. For the bad. The bad, I would have to say, would be the, I guess, burn package in the deck. Maybe this deck needs to be a little more grindy and not go for the burn. Because Bump in the Night and Tyrant's Choice, while they're good, it doesn't feel like the deck has enough burn spells to kill your opponent just with burn. What I mean is that if you see a lot of burn decks, especially Pauper burn decks, is they're playing Keldon Marauders, Thermal Alchemists, a lot of creatures that can deal damage by themselves over and over through the course of the game. This deck plays Mer Servitor, Perilous Mir, Mog War Marshal, and Mud Button Torch Runner. If you're not, I guess if you didn't catch on, they're all 1/1s. They do not attack very well. You saw in that game against Elves, we weren't able to attack very profitably into his creatures. And it really took us a long time to win a game that we really should have had over a lot quicker than that. Maybe that was just me mispointing a couple of my burn spells. But I think if we're going to rebuild this deck, maybe it has to be a little more grindy. Now, I know maybe that's not the avenue that people that are playing Pauper, kind of playing a red-black aggro deck, want to lean towards. And maybe the answer is that red-black Madness deck that we played in round 2. But I think if we're going to go with the sacrificing strategy, I think it needs to be a little grindier, have a few more cards like Altar's Reap, maybe some other card advantage engines to keep this sacrifice theme going. Because I do think that there is potential here, but when you're playing Bump in the Nights, Tyrant's Choices, and, you know, Blightnings, you run out of cards very quickly. And then what happens is you're left with really, really bad top decks, which is what happened in a lot of those games. And then for the ugly, I guess. And the ugly would have to be maybe the Mer Servitors. They were not good. We didn't play any affinities, so smashes were not, I guess, the prettiest out of the sideboard. The sideboard maybe needs some work. These probably, again, should be Molten Rains. It's just a case of, you know, Choking Sands, I had them, and they're just a lot more sweeter. Yeah, I guess I kind of already touched on this in the bad. I think this deck needs to slow down a little bit. I think it needs to be more of a mid-range aggro deck rather than a burn aggro deck. because it does not have the recurring sources of damage that other burn decks are allotted. So you just aren't able to close out games because they're at, when you need to rip burn spells. With this deck, they're at 12, whereas in like a traditional burn deck, they'd be at 7 or 6. And that's a much more manageable total when you're trying to burn somebody out. So maybe what I would be suggesting is maybe cut the Bump of the Knights, cut the Tyrant's Choices. I think Blightning is okay for now, and then maybe add, another Altar's Reap, maybe a couple more creatures, maybe something like a Sign in Blood or a Whispers of Night package, and kind of aim to go to the late game. Because if we can, start getting the Mer Servitor Sacrifice engine online, I think that is pretty powerful. Maybe this deck wants something like Tortured Existence. These are all things that I would be interested in working on in the future. As always, please let me know what you think of this video or think of all my videos in the comments below or on the website, www.themanabase.com. Again, new content every single day for you guys. It is Magic content by Magic players for Magic players. And check us out over there. This was Austin Holy. This was Pauper Ponderings. Thanks for watching, guys. And we will see you next week.